Reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, Chapter 6, entitled Dhyan Yoga, text number 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anasrita Karma Phalang Anasrita Karma Phalang Karyam Karma Karotiya Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Na niragnir na chakriyaha Na niragnir na chakriyaha Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anasrita Karma Phalang Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Na niragnir na chakriyaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalang Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Na niragnir na chakriyaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalang Karyam Karma Karotiya Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalang Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Na niragnir chakriyaha. Ladies. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Namirat Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi cha yogi cha Na niragnir na chakriyaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Lord said, Anasritaha, without taking shelter, karma phalam, of the result of work, karyam, obligatory, karma, work, karoti, performs, ya, one who, saha, he, sannyasi, in the renounced order, cha, also, yogi, mystic, cha, also, na, not, nihi, without, agni, fire, na, not, cha, also, akriyaha, without duty. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who's unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he's obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra Yogya, fire sacrifices. But actually, they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he's the perfect sannyasi, our perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way: Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani ishvare, bhavatad bhaktir ahaitiki tvayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate gadi yat kripa taraham bande Shri Gurun dinotaranam paramananandavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. So here Krishna is explaining what a real sannyasi is. Generally, people think sannyasi means someone who has lal kapra. This is sannyasi. But someone may have lal kapra and not be a sannyasi. Because the criterion for sannyas is different. Sannyas is supposed to be renunciation, the renounced order, right? And in the renounced order, persons feel sometimes that they have already attained mukti. And therefore they don't have any duties. But we see that Krishna is saying something else here. Krishna is saying a real renounced person is a person who performs duties but not attached to the result of those duties. Now everyone is working in the material world, and from that work comes some result. Just like people go to work and because they are working, they're receiving some salary, right? So the salary is the fruit of the work. People get their salary and then they go out shopping, they buy so many things, they buy a new iPhone, whatever. And they try to enjoy this salary that they got for working. But here Krishna is saying, a renounced person works and there's some result, but he's not attached to that result. In other words, a Krishna conscious person sees that everything belongs to Krishna, and that even if I'm working and there's some result come from that work, right? Some fruits of my labor, that also belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam. That everything is coming from the Supreme. And everything belongs to the Supreme. Right? We can't really claim anything as our own. Can we? What belongs to us? We can say, well, this body belongs to me, but who are you? If you own the body, who's the owner? The soul. Nahanyate hanyamani sharire. The soul. So, how can the soul, who's eternal, own something that is temporary? The body is made up of Bhumir, Apo, Nalovayu, Kammano Budevacha, earth, water, fire, air, right? This is what the body, sky, ether, this is what the body is made up of. So can I say that I own earth? Do I own the air? Can I say that I own the water? No. These are all the energies of God. Earth, water, fire, all the energies of God. Who owns them? God owns them. So I'm thinking that I own this body, but that is called illusion. Moha. Because the body is actually comes together as the energies of God. For some time, it's in this form or that form, it's always changing. So what then do we own? Well, according to Bhagavad-Gita, nirmama, nothing is mine. We don't own anything. So someone who has this consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna and everything should be engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Whatever we have. Iha yasya Hare dasya karmana manasa gita nakila vyatvastastu jivan mukta sa uchite. That one who engages one's mind, right, body, and words in the service of the Supreme, that person is already liberated. So this is the criterion. The criterion is not the cloth that we wear, the color of cloth we wear. No. The criterion is to have the consciousness that everything belongs to Krishna and I should use everything in the service of Krishna. This is the meaning of real renunciation. And such a person is the real yogi. In the last chapter, Krishna said, he explains, at the end of this chapter, he talks about the highest yogi is someone who's always thinking of me. This is the highest yogi. In this chapter of, 6th chapter, Krishna talks about controlling the life airs, and meditation. And at the end of the chapter, Arjuna tells Krishna that this process of yoga to control the mind seems very difficult to me. Right? He says it seems that controlling the mind is like trying to control the wind. So if I have air coming out of this fan, it's very difficult to control it. It's moving, right? If there's a tofan, a hurricane, can you control the wind? So Arjuna says that trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. And that's Arjuna, who's the personal friend of Lord Krishna. So if Arjuna says it's difficult to control the mind, what to speak of us? And what does Krishna say? Krishna says, yes, it's difficult, but it's possible. How is it possible? By constant practice and detachment. Constant practice and detachment. So what is that practice? The best way to control the mind in this age is by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. This is a chanting springs from the spiritual platform, and it enlivens the chanter. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. So by chanting the name of the Lord, one's directly in contact with the Lord. And by this contact with the Lord, one can become purified. Now our condition is that we are contaminated by the three modes of material nature: passion, goodness, and ignorance. Originally, our constitution was pure consciousness. But once that pure consciousness comes in contact with the material nature, it becomes polluted. Srila Prabhupada gives the example. When the rain falls from the clouds, the rain is pure. But when it hits the ground and becomes mixed with the mud, then it becomes impure. In the same way, in our original constitutional position as eternal spirit souls, we're pure. But when we come in contact with the material nature, the three modes of material nature, we have this polluted consciousness. So what is that polluted consciousness? What does it mean, polluted consciousness? What it means is that we think that we can enjoy this material world. We can enjoy the senses, right? Today, people think that they are the enjoyers. Everybody wants to be the boss. Don't they have a show, The Big Boss? The Big Boss show. Right? So everybody wants to be big boss. No one wants to serve. But everyone is forced to serve because we are not the big boss, but we're actually the servants. Even the so-called big boss is also the servant. Because that is our constitutional position. We are meant to serve. Look at, everyone is serving someone. The students are serving the teacher. The husband is serving the family by working. The wife is serving. The children are serving the parents. Everyone is doing some kind of service because that's our constitutional position, is to render service. But as long as we're rendering service to something or someone in this material world, that is not our eternal occupation. That's temporary, right? I may be rendering service to my family, my country, my community, but for how long? How long do you stay in the body? How long? Nowadays, maybe 80 years, right? So what is 80 years? It goes like that. It's nothing. The soul is eternal. So many lifetimes, right? So many different families. But yet we think this one is so important. I'm Indian. I'm American. And your next life, you can be born in Lower Slobovia or somewhere else, right? Who knows, right? In this life, you have the body of a human being. But in so many lifetimes, we had so many other bodies. Sometimes as a cat, sometimes as a dog. Right? Different bodies. Right? It's always changing. Some people think that once you have a human body, then you'll always have a human body. But that's not what Krishna says. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, according to the consciousness that we've developed in this life, that will determine the body we get in our next life. If we have the consciousness of a human being, then you can be a human being. But if we develop the consciousness of a dog, then you can take birth as a dog. Right? It's according to the consciousness that we have developed. In modern society, no one is trying to develop their consciousness in spirituality. They're becoming more and more engrossed in material sense gratification. What they can smell, what they can taste, what they hear. Mundane sense gratification, no matter how much you try, it can't bring us happiness. Happiness can only come when we are in touch with our eternal nature as souls and in touch with the Supreme Soul. The Supreme Soul is God or Krishna, and everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. Now, some philosophers say that this material world is a place of suffering, so they're going to get out of the material world and perform meditation and become fixed in Brahman. But here Krishna is suggesting a different thing, that the real process is to work, get some result, and apply that result in the service of the Lord. I'll give you an example. Someone may be a farmer. They're growing things, growing sabji. Okay? So they grow sabji, and that sabji, they offer it to Krishna. If you're growing potatoes and flower gobi, you can make a nice sabji and you offer it to Krishna. This is the real renounced person, right? The person that says, oh, I'm not going to grow anything. खेती में कुछ नहीं लगा देगा. I'm sannyasi hai. No. Real sannyasi is who grows, gets that produce, and offers it to God. This is a real sannyasi. This is what Krishna is saying here. Not somebody who's artificially renounced. I don't do anything. And they go around and collect money, right? And then they buy some chai and bidis. It's not sannyas. Right? Hota hai na? It's going on. In the name of sannyasi, smoking chai and drinking chai and smoking bidis. So this is not sannyas. Sannyas means to be engaged in the service of the Supreme. We have senses, we have eyes, we have ears, we have the tactile sense, we have the tongue. These senses require real engagements. Real engagements. If you want to become spiritual, if you want to become happy, then Krishna is saying you have to engage your senses in the service of the Supreme. If we don't engage our senses in the service of the Supreme, then we'll engage our senses in our sense gratification. And that can be extended also. My own senses, my own tongue, eyes, ears, belly, genitals. But I'm also trying to get sense gratification for my family members. So my own personal and extended. I can even be worried about my community or my country or the whole world. But ultimately it's all sense gratification. So how to change that habit? We have a habit. The habit is to engage in sense gratification. That's this Krishna explains, it's the process of devotional service or bhakti yoga. And it begins by engaging the tongue, right? The tongue has two businesses: to taste and to vibrate, right? Some people get together, they're in the cafe, and they're all vibrating their tongue, talking about this and that, right? In Starbucks, talking away. It's called Gramya Katha. And that leaves us in the material world and material consciousness. But that same vibration of the tongue, when it's used in relationship to the Supreme Lord, when we describe the glories of the Lord, who is glorified by the most beautiful verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. So many nice verses, the Lord is glorified. Right? There's the prayers by Queen Kunti, the prayers by Bhishma Stuti, prayers by Bhishma Dev, Prahlad Maharaj. So many wonderful prayers are there glorifying the Lord. When we engage our tongue in this way, then we develop spiritual consciousness. Then we can enjoy genuine, real happiness, everlasting happiness, spiritual bliss. And the other thing that the tongue does, it tastes. We use the tongue to taste, right? People are very much interested to taste things. That's why you see in Bombay so many restaurants. Every corner there's a restaurant, right? Restaurant and a family bar. I don't know how the bar became family, but that says restaurant and family bar, right? All for the tongue. So in order to control the tongue, instead of going to the restaurant, one can make nice foodstuffs, and those foodstuffs can be offered to the Supreme Lord, and it becomes his prasadam, and we eat prasadam, right? And in this way we control the tongue. And if we can control the tongue by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, and by taking only Krishna prasadam, it's not a very difficult thing to do, right? You have to talk about something anyway, so why not talk about Krishna? You have to say something, so why not say Krishna's holy name? And you have to eat something, right? So why not eat only Krishna prasadam? And in this way, very easily, one can spiritualize one's consciousness and become a real sannyasi, a real yogi, right? It's not that you become a yogi by doing exercises. You put your foot behind your head or something. This is not yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmanaha. The highest yogi, Krishna says, is one who's thinking of me. Arjuna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he was a yogi. Why? Because he was following the instructions of Krishna. He was doing what Krishna wanted him to do. So therefore he's yogi. Huh? Whatever position you're in, you can stay there. You don't have to change. If you're a grihasta, if you're a householder, no problem. But you have to change your consciousness. The consciousness, the chaitana, that should be changed. And how to do that? Simple, very simple. Chant Hare Krishna and eat Krishna Prasadam. Is that very difficult? You can do? Huh? Anyone can do. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakti priyachati. If you offer me with love, fruit, a flower, some water, Krishna says, I will accept it. The Supreme Lord, who's created everything, whose energy is existing everywhere, He's so kind. If you offer some water or fruit or flower, He'll accept it, He said. Anywhere you go, you can get water, you can get a piece of fruit, you can get a flower, right? And you can offer that to Krishna, and that's yoga. That is yoga. Nowadays, people are interested to perform yoga so they can lose weight or be healthy. That's not what yoga is for. Yoga is meant to link up with the Supreme. Yoga means to link up with the Supreme. Right? So the best way to link up, especially in this age of Kali, when people quarrel so much unnecessarily, and people are not very much interested in spiritual life. Pena alpayushe shabha, kalavasmin yuge janaha, manda samanda matayo, manda bhagya upadrutaha. People are very slow to spiritual life. If you ask someone to chant Hare Krishna, they'll tell you, no, 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 I don't have time. I don't have time. They have time for newspaper, they have time for the mobile phone all day long, but no time to chant. Manda. And if someone's interested in spiritual life, sumanda, sumanda mateo. Some cheater will come. One cheater will come and say, I am God, worship me. How they became God? They have a toothache, they have to go to the dentist. God has to go to the dentist. Huh? Sumanda. Mandabhagya. Very unfortunate. People in Kali Yuga are very unfortunate. Even though the process for becoming self-realized is so easy. All you have to do is chant. Offer your prasadam to the Supreme Lord and offer bhoga and take it as prasadam. Still they think, no, no, I don't have time. I'm busy. Mandabhagya. So unfortunate. So, Srila Prabhupada started this International Society for Krishna Consciousness to make people fortunate, right? To make people fortunate. And it's very simple, not difficult. He's given us this Bhagavad-Gita, the words of Lord Krishna. In America, for so many years there was Bhagavad-Gita, but nobody became a devotee of Krishna. And after this Bhagavad-Gita as it is, no change from what Lord Krishna meant, as it is, so many people all over the world became devotees of Lord Krishna. In Russia, America, China also. Right? Because Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, he didn't try to change the words of Krishna. It's not his idea. He's explaining the idea of Krishna. What's Krishna's idea? My idea, what is a use? I'm a conditioned soul. I think Bhagavad-Gita means this. No use. What does Krishna think? What does Krishna want to say? This is what we need to hear. And Srila Prabhupada gave that in this Bhagavad-Gita. And therefore it has potency to change the heart and change the consciousness of anyone who carefully tries to study Bhagavad-Gita. Therefore we're having these regular classes in the Bhagavad-Gita as it is. On Wednesday night there's an English class, and other nights there's a Hindi class. Just to help us become closer to Krishna and perfect this human form of life. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. First of all, I'm really sorry in advance for the question. It's been 7-8 months that I've been chanting. Regularly I'm chanting. I'm attending the classes. But what I felt, it's my personal view. We are so much into pleasing the Lord, but we are forgetting the basic knowledge of a human being. We are forgetting the behavior, the treatment that we do towards a human being. We are forgetting that. No doubt we are developing the spiritual life, but at the same time we are forgetting, like that's what I feel, the behavior towards a human being. How can we improve that? How can we be more humble? How can we be, treat the people in a very positive way without hurting them? So, like my simple question, how can we be more humble? How can we treat the people in a very good way?
First of all, if we want to treat other people properly, we should understand who we are. We should understand what is our real identity as an eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. If we understand that we're the part of Krishna and all the living entities are part of Krishna, then we'll treat everyone properly. If we don't understand that, then we'll have partiality. Partiality. If I think I'm the body, I'll be partial. Oh, this is my Gaonwala, so I'll be partial. Or, oh, I'm Gujarati, this is Gujarati, so, and this is Tamil. No. Or I'm Marathi, this is Bihari. No. Why? Because of avidya, ignorance. I don't know, there's no Bihari, Marathi, Gujarati, Russian, Chinese. All souls, spirit soul, eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Father. You think that Krishna sees, oh, Marathi and Russian, Gujarati? No. These are my children. Supreme Father, He sees children. And who loves Him? That He wants to see. So if you develop love for Krishna, love for the Supreme Lord, then naturally you'll treat all the parts and parcels properly. You'll relate to them properly. And therefore you have to chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you chant, take Krishna Prasadam, then you'll be able to treat each and every, people sometimes, okay, you talk about treating people. What about the animals? You treat the people very nicely and cut the bakara. What is that? Cut. Is that very good? No? All living entities, they have a right to live. Right? They're our brothers. We're eternal spirit souls. They're also eternal spirit souls. Right? So, in order to see properly, we need to get our eyes treated. And that treatment is the holy name. Then we can see every living entity as part and parcel of God. Our brother, our sister. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for listening. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.